everyone. A very good morning. You're watching Market Fatafat on EP now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. Markets have more or less flattened out, so it may be a day where we may actually snap that gaining streak. But once again, while the Nifty and the Sensex are more or less flat, mostly with a negative bias, we do have one index that's gaining and resilient, and that is the Nifty Bank. While the gains are a bit minor, it's about 0.25%, but nevertheless, that is something that's standing out. And yet again, it's the Nifty PSU Banking Index that's really doing pretty well in trade. Well, over the next 30 minutes, that's what we'll continue doing, flagging off all those individual movers and shakers in trade. And to do that, we have with us on the technicals, Himain Kapari of KR Choksi Securities and Pranay and Soumya as well join in from our research team. So morning all of you. And before we kickstart the show, let's just flag off the earnings that we are watching out for. One of them is Tech Mahindra. Pranay, absolutely flat ahead of the second quarter numbers. What are we expecting?
Well, from Tech Mahindra, we're expecting that revenue growth could be about 1.9% in constant currency terms and anticipating a 70 basis point cross currency headwind. In dollar terms, that could be about 1.2% sequentially. Of course, most of this growth will be driven by the telecom vertical. The communication segment has been doing well. Deal wins have been pretty good. On the other side, enterprise vertical is expected to be subdued given client-specific challenge and also the overall macro distress that we've seen in manufacturing, particularly autos. If you look at the operating picture, then EBITDA is seen growing by about 5.5% sequentially. And in margin terms, that could mean an improvement of about 30 basis points. So 15.5% EBITDA margin is what we are penciling. There will be an absence of, one-off costs which were seen in the previous quarter. So that will help margins. Also, there is some bit of rupee tailwind which should also augur well for them. So if the absorption of one-off costs has been more in the last quarter and is completely absent this time, then you could perhaps see margins even higher than our estimates. Net profit is expected to decline by about 2%. Because of the big AT&T deal in the communication segment that they did. So upfront, some transaction or transition related costs will weigh on the profitability. But key monitorables from the results and management commentary would be what's the outlook for the telecom vertical, because Street has been expecting that to be in high single digits. So whether that can be retained or reaffirmed for the year. And enterprise vertical is expected to pick up maybe in the second half of the year and at best could grow in mid-single digits. So management, whether they can provide confidence on that front. What's the margin trajectory going to be from here? Because like I said, Q3 is going to be a seasonally soft quarter for the industry, and after absorbing these upfront costs related to the AT&T deal, we should see an improvement later on. So if the management can guide as to what could be the extent of improvement. Also, what's the contribution which is expected from AT&T deal in the second half of this year, or if the timeline is longer than that, and if they could give a ballpark estimate of what the transition costs are going to be. The large deal wins, actually they've been above average for the last 2 quarters. So whether that run rate continues or not, and how is enterprise vertical doing in BFSI, which has been soft for the other peers. Also manufacturing, we know, has been soft for many companies besides retail, healthcare. How have they been faring over here compared to digital growth? These will be the key monitorables from the results.
Okay, all right, Pranay, thanks a lot for that. Well, Tech Mahindra will mostly be coming out with its second quarter numbers only after market hours. So I suppose we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see a stock reaction. And of course, those are the factors as well that you must watch out for. Okay, let's continue with the countdown then. And the very first stock that we'd like to flag off is no doubt Yes Bank. It's certainly been a stock in news. First, of course, it was in news because of the $1.2 billion binding commitment that it has received from a foreign investor. That caused the stock to surge from 40 to almost 65. Then you had the second quarter numbers, a bit of a tempered move, and now, of course, a very big news. Forget about foreign investors. We have a big investor right here who has checked into the company. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has bought 1.29 crore shares in Yes Bank at a price of roughly 67.1 rupees per share. And I suppose that's another reason why you are seeing the stock rally and how 3.25% higher in trade today on the back of that big news flow coming in yesterday in the bulk deal data. Let's move on and talk about a sector that's been resilient and how, and that's the PSU banking space. Himen, it's yet another day where we are seeing the Nifty Bank, led by the Nifty PSU Bank, really dominate the charts of big gainers. Within that space, SBI at 320 now. Anything that you would like to observe here?
Well, it looks a bit overbought, but frankly speaking, Mubina, the move is still holding. I'd suggest a hold with a stop loss of 308, target of 328. We remain in a short and medium term uptrend. It's just today posted, I believe, what is a fresh 3-month high. So despite concerns on the market, standalone SBI still looks like making some more headway. Movie.
So it's a hold, yes, it may be a bit overbought, but right now Himen is perhaps adopting a wait and watch mode. Soumya, meantime, Bajaj Finance, the news with respect to the QIP is now official.
Well, yes, and in fact, they launched their QIP yesterday and the floor price has been set at around 4,020 rupees per share. Not just this, board had earlier approved raising of close to about 8,500 crore via this QIP. And in fact, the street and the analysts are estimating the price range of on the band of around 3,800 to 3,900 rupees per share. Not just this, with the base share base increasing, we might see the price to book value valuations coming down to 7.3 times both this QIP versus 11.4, which was at the current levels. Not just this, this is a very good company, and what we are learning from the sources is that the QIP has received a very good demand, almost 4.5 times. That's the demand that has been received by this QIP. So definitely the investors and analysts are really happy with the kind of outlook that the company has.
All right, that's Bajaj Finance. It's a percent higher today in trade. Not bad for sure. Okay, let's move on and talk about yet another stock in focus, and that's Varun Beverages. As we speak now, it's 13% higher. Pranay, what's warranting this kind of a solid up move?
Solid earnings moving over here. Their volume growth has been about 20% at an organic level. If you bake in the integration of their south and west regions, then it's even higher. So that's really commendable that despite a weak underlying consumer sentiment, they've actually managed to grow volumes by 17.5% even in rural regions. Shows to go the kind of penetration success that they are having. And also the EBITDA growth overall has been about 59%. So much higher than the street expectations, and because of this surprise, you're seeing that nice 13% rise in the stock. Also, it's one of the best performers from the mid-cap pack today.
It is outperforming, and how? Okay, the metal space, meantime, that continues to stay abuzz. In fact, with today's up move, the Nifty metal is at a 3-month high. Today, we have a new news flow, and I want to focus specifically within the metal space on aluminium, because yesterday we had LME aluminium prices going in at a 6-week peak. Reason? Because of the supply shortage. Also, in general, aluminium prices have firmed up quite a bit, and that's being followed up by domestic aluminium companies hiking prices. So Vedanta, Nalco and Hindalco, all three of the listed aluminium companies have hiked prices at least once in the last 1 or 2 odd weeks. Hindalco, in fact, has hiked it for the 3rd straight time. So looks like there's a bit of a rebound coming in metal prices, and consequently in the Nifty metal as well. Okay, moving on, Himen, here's another stock that's really managing to continue its uptick, and that's Motherson Sumi. It's yet another day that it's in the green, and yes, it continues to stay so. Do you believe there's more room for a rise over here?
Yes, Mubina, I think so. We are walking into a virtual brick wall at 128. Yes, the stock is in a short and medium term uptrend, but we would need a closing above 128. If that happens, we see an upside to 125. With the hold, the stop loss of 120. Outlook remains positive, but the only fear is the market might slip into a corrective phase before Motherson takes for 128. While standalone looks fine, further upside on the side.
Okay, 1.2% higher for a Motherson Sumi. Soumya, let's talk about Indian Overseas Bank, because there's a massive stock reaction seen. So how were the second quarter numbers?
Mubina, they were a very disappointing set of numbers, particularly on the bottom line. The losses widened to nearly 2,253 crore rupees versus a loss of 487 crore rupees in the last year. Not just this, if I look at the net interest income, it remained flat at around 1,200 crore rupees. The only silver lining, I would say, was the GNPA figures. There was an improvement in the absolute GNPAs. They were they were better by over 13 odd percent. That's what IOB results reflect.
All right, yeah, massive decline, and there's really been no respite for the stock all day. Another stock that's falling is BEL. Pranay, again, a second quarter result reaction.
Well, yes, and you've seen a decline across the board. Revenues have come off about 19% year on year. So we saw lesser execution than the corresponding quarter. If you look at the margins, as a result, they have also fallen by about 540 basis points and come down to about 19.9%. Lastly, the bottom line, as a result of lower top line and also weaker margins, have fallen by 40%. The only thing that was healthy was the order intake, which came over 7,000 crores. The big one over here being the surface-to-air missiles by Akash, so 7 squadrons of that. But net, the execution has been weaker than analyst expectations, hence a decline in the stock price.
All right, that's the view then coming in on a BEL at 113 rupees. It's certainly fallen sharply. And Mahindra Holidays, meantime, this one has actually in turn given a decent set of numbers, and that's the stock reaction as well seen on this stock. Now, what exactly has happened? First up, there has been a steady margin performance and a revenue performance, because we do have your top line coming in at 573 crore rupees, and margins have expanded from 16.1% to 22.5%. Not just that, you do have the profit after tax that has surged this time around on the bottom line. It's a profit versus a 3.3 crore loss in the corresponding quarter. Of course, the Q2 numbers are post the Ind AS 116 impact as well. Another thing that's worthy of flagging off is the entire the tie-up bit, because remember, Mahindra Holidays has tied up with a lot of interesting companies, including the Finnish company that it had tied up with. ARR growth, member additions, all of that is worth watching out for. And Hemane, from results, release to results expected, here's Titan as well. Ahead of the numbers, the move that you are seeing is a bit tempered. It's 1.1% down. But again, the last 1 month, the last one has been a great outperformer. So what sort of a position build-up are you seeing ahead of the numbers?
Frankly speaking, if there is a shorter-term view, then it's a sell. Lower top, lower bottom. Indicators have turned negative, even crossover sells on the daily chart. So not looking too good. But from a longer term point of view, remain in a 20-year uptrend. So the bigger picture remains positive. If it's a short term view, I think it's a sell. Long term, strong hold.
Okay, well, we're done with 10 stocks. So let's just take a quick look at the RWY small case and see what that one's up to as the markets sort of looks like it's going to snap that gaining streak. Is that the case we're seeing with the RWY small case as well? Yes, it is. 0.25% down at 566 for this index. Well, let's do one thing. We'll take a very short break and a breather on the countdown of stocks. We'll continue on the other side. Okay, welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. Just before we continue with the countdown, interesting news coming in. The CBI is currently conducting searches at 169 locations across India. They're filing around 35 cases relating to banking frauds of more than 7,000 crore rupees. It would be interesting to know which banks are involved, what perhaps entities or companies are being currently searched. We will be connecting with my colleague Abhimanyu in just a bit for that. But for now, let me continue with the countdown. Soumya, NoSil is a company we don't talk about very often. So what exactly warrants a mention today? Soumya, NoSil?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. Am I audible?
Soumya, what about NoSil's share price? How are the second quarter numbers?
Okay. Yeah, so the second quarter numbers were weak as far as NoSil is concerned. On the top line, we saw a degrowth of over around 22 or 23% on a YOY basis, and this was mainly led by and impacted by the slowdown in the auto space. And in fact, talking about the profit line, it was bumped up because of one-time impact of DTA. But adjusting for this, we saw a degrowth in even bottom line. So definitely weak set of numbers on both the set of top line and bottom line, and that's the reason the stock's tracking in trade today.
There you have it. That's of course the view then on and a no sell. But I think, can we go across now to Abhimanyu Sharma? Okay. So Abhimanyu, very interesting news. Banking frauds involving more than 7,000 crore rupees. Do we know what are the locations being searched, and do we know which banks, have been defrauded by these entities?
Well, there's no particular information about any people or banks which have been targeted with respect to these cases which have been filed. But according to CBI sources, 35 cases have been filed pertaining to bank frauds, and the total amount involved is more than 7,000 crores. Searches as of now are going on at around 169 places across the country, which involve several states and union territories, and as of now, more details are yet to come out in the public domain. What we are learning from our sources in CBI, that more details will trickle in as the day progresses, and the searches are conducted and more details are unearthed from the searches, or possibly if any interrogation would also be carried out in due course. But as of now, what we are learning that it's around more than 10 states, including Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, where the searches are going on. Also in Delhi, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Chandigarh. So clearly, more than a dozen states and union territories where searches are going on, and more details are yet to come out.
All right, Abhimanyu, thanks a lot for that. 7,000 crore rupees of fraud, and now that's under the CBI lens. Those are some of the states where the CBI is currently conducting searches, 169 locations. Let's move on and talk about Canfin Homes, which is on our radar. Second quarter numbers were indeed interesting. We had a strong profit growth led by healthy NI and loan growth. However, I think the negative was the fact that the asset quality deteriorated because we had an 11% surge on a sequential basis in the absolute gross NPAs. Another big thing is, of course, the upcoming stake sale by Canara Bank. We spoke to Girish Kosgi, MD and CEO of Canfin Homes, on the same. Listen into what he had to say.
For Canfin, we never had issue either on the borrowing or on the lending side. So we see we cater to different markets, and therefore we are to an extent not impacted by the demand and supply. I think this time it looks to be a little serious, and the 7th is the final date for binding bids. That process is on. I think this process is on. It's on for last few weeks, and it's the final stage. Maybe in a week or 10 days' time, we will know the outcome. I think this time, all concerned are pretty serious about this.
Okay, let's move on and talk about another big buzzer, and that's Dr. Reddy's. Hey, man, in this last 1 odd week, we've seen a nice rebound of stores come by in DRL. Your view?
We've been in a sideways consolidation phase, Mubina, for last 10 trading sessions. In a range roughly between 2750 and 2850. Needless to say, we need a close about 2850. I'd say it's a buy. It looks set to give this breakout. Indicators are turning positive. But yes, so hold or buy. The stop loss 2740, target 2950.
Okay, buy on DRL from Hemain. Soumya, another pharma stock that's buzzing and is in the news is Biocon. What's the reason?
Well, Biocon's biologics drug products facility in Bangalore has received an establishment inspection report from US FDA indicating a closure of the audit or what US FDA conducted, and that's particularly the reason why they're flagging this one, and it's in the news today.
Okay, 2.5% lower for Biocon at 257. Very quickly moving on, Hemain, Z Entertainment, after that rally we saw Thursday, Friday, it's another day of a decline in the stock. Your view?
Hold stop loss 275, target 315. We are in a short term uptrend. We've entered a minor corrective phase because we had a very sharp move. He's taking support, or he's almost taking support on the 55-day moving average. Outlook still remains positive.
All right, so it's a buy on a Z. it's a hold on a Z Entertainment. Those graphics should update for you in just a bit as well. Okay, let's move on and talk about Godrej Agrovet then. Soumya, how are the second quarter numbers?
Well, talking about the second quarter numbers, we had Godrej Agrovet delivering the results, but having said that, they weren't really very impressive as far as the numbers are concerned. On a consolidated basis, the revenue was up by over 17%. However, the profit line saw a massive degrowth, or actually minor degrowth of over 4%. The EBITDA and the operating performance also reflected a really weak set of numbers, given they were down by over 15%. Margin compressed from 8.9% to nearly 6.5%. So there was a margin compression as well as far as Godrej Agrovet is concerned. It's also reflected in the stock prices, which were down by over 4% today.
All right, this is of course Godrej Agrovet, just a little under 500 rupees. But with that, we are completely out of time. So Pranay, Soumya and Himen, thank you so much for joining us on Market Fatafat. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with Markets at Noon.